Hello teachers. This video we are going to talk about the topic Chinese in Thai and we choose Chinese festival in Thailand such as Vegetarian Festival, Chinese New Year, Hot Dog Festival and Tom Sweeping Day to present in this video. Chinese entered the Sukhothai and Ayutthaya periods by entering the trade. In the Thonburi and Ratanakosin periods came to make a living, resulting in the integration of Thai and Chinese culture until becoming Thai culture. The influence of Chinese culture on Thai culture. The first one is vegetarian foods or the festival of eating vegetable. It's a tradition of Thai Chinese people living in Southeast Asia. The history and origins are as follows. The Day Festival began about 400 years ago in China, according to legend, occurred in the time when the Chinese were ruled by Manchu and forced the Chinese people to accept their culture. At that time, a group of Chinese people gathered against the Manchu, using the principle of drama. To join this group of Chinese people dressed in white, clad in white, and don't eat meat. According to belief, following this approach can help you strengthen yourself. This group called themselves Yi Hua Tuan, but were ultimately defeated by Manchu and many mature every day of the first waxing moon of the ninth lunar moon. The Chinese who are still under the rule of Manchu. Therefore, they are ready to observe the precept of patriotism to commemorate Yi Hua Tuan. Vegetarian festival had came into effect in Thailand because the Thai Chinese community in Phuket adhered to the vegetarian festival with a profession of the god of eating. The vegetarian festival in Phuket begins in Laitu village, which is a village in Thatu sub-district, born of Chinese people who immigrated to make like minerals in the Ayutthaya period, which corresponds to the regions of King Narai the Great, and many Chinese immigrants came to live in 1925 as the teen industry booming chain established in the respect of the Chinese arose in village, including performance from the opera troupe available all year round. In the year when the people of Leto and the Chinese in the opera are very sick, therefore they had a meeting to discuss whether to perform a stir eating vegetable ceremony in Thailand because they couldn't travel back to China to join the ceremony as they used to perform the ratio every year. People of Chinese opera group perform a Shia ceremony in Thailand by performing various acrobatics. After the villagers recover from disease after that, there were veneration and ceremony of Shia later according to their fear, suitable for each family before the opera troupe went to perform elsewhere had presented in image a Chinese monk and giving advice to villagers to perform the ritual later.
Chinese New Year. Origins early in Song Dynasty, 17th century BC, 1046 BC. The history of Chinese New Year was closely associated with agrarian society in old times, and worshipping performance turned to be social practice to observe the beginning of farming work in spring. The yearly celebration came into being with the outcome of calendar in the Song Dynasty. Later, the name Nian, on Chinese New Year Day, emerged in the Zhou dynasty. The Chinese believed that their food, clothes, and harvest come from the wit of their god and ancestor on the first day of the first month, according to Chinese lunar calendar. As a result, the Chinese began to celebrate God and ancestors by holding festivals to pray for the sky and land, blessing for agricultural harvest to flourish, provide food and be used throughout the years, as well as peace at the end of each year. Thailand believed in the same custom. As a result, Thai people embraced and follow Chinese New Year traditions. Since the time of King Lama V, the royal court had embraced the Chinese New Year custom to perform, including the sacrifice ceremony, พิธีสังเวยพระป้าย which is ceremonial to pay respect to ancestors according to Chinese tradition. Until now, Thai people have absorbed Chinese cultural tradition into Thai society for a long time, and they have become so intertwined that Thai people do not consider Chinese tradition to be odd in their way of life. Every year, many people in Thailand with Chinese ancestors, which are called คนไทยเชื้อสายจีน on this occasion, Thai Chinese people greet with the phrase ซินเจียยู่อีซินนี้วัวไฉ Thai Chinese people celebrate Chinese New Year for 3 days. Eat วันจ่าย วันไหว้ วันเที่ยว In addition to pay respect, what Thai Chinese people like to do during the Chinese New Year is various clothes, decorate red lanterns, and prepare red envelope for the children, who bless adults with good healthy, and Thai people still count on the Chinese New Year as an opportunity to go on holiday or visit family. Consider it another family celebration day.
Part of festival get a cultural foundation from India. When Buddhism came to China, so make this festival is integrated with the ceremony to pay respect to ancestors during the 7 months of the Chinese people. This festival is an important festival of Southern Chinese people, especially in the Cantonese, Teochew, and Hokkien group. When entering the late Qing dynasty, some Chinese immigrated from China, and the Hokkien Chinese is the first Chinese group to come to Thailand, especially come to Phuket during the Ayutthaya Kingdom. Part of festival has become an important marriage-making event held in the belief of the Chinese people in Phuket. There is a ceremony to pay respect and to show gratitude to the ancestors, influenced by the Chinese settlers over 100 years ago, and this tradition that has been practiced for a long time. It cannot determine when it happened, and it combines the belief of Confucianism and Taoism with Buddhism, and become two traditions that overseas Chinese hold practice in the 7 months of Chinese calendar, and this festival was held every August to September. เพราะต่อ mean to help us out of suffering, officially known as Ulan Seng Hoi, is a tradition dedicated to the charity of hungry ghosts, similar to the 10 lunar month festival in southern Thailand. According to ancient belief, the 7th month of China is called Ghost Month, as the month of the liberation of spirits. Throughout the month, ghost doors will be opened to allow spirits to return to receive offering from their descendants. But there will be some miserable spirits that not receive the offerings, namely Ho Hiati, or ghosts without relatives. When hungry and may bring misfortune to people, therefore the villagers organize a marriage-making ceremony filled with sweets and savory food to comfort for Ho Hiati. The little cake is a unique food of the Pata festival. For many Chinese believe that the turtle represents strength and is a symbol of longevity, and believe that if you offer a little turtle cake to the gods, it's not only a good thing for the ancestor, but also renewing for yourself and being a great charity. And at the same time believe that the turtle had a special power to communicate between the worlds. That have own evidence showing this principle is their Gowen, or the Chang dynasty right inscribed on the turtle shell, used for divinations or ask something from the god.
In the Chongqiu era, Prince Chong-er of Jin province fled the country to live a difficult life outside the city with Jia Zhetui taking care of the service. Jia Zhetui had such a kind heart that he killed the meat of his legs as food for the prince to eat to sustain his life. After the prince returned to the legends and established himself as the ruler of legends, therefore wanting to repay the gratitude to Jia Zhetui by providing a home for him and his mom to live comfortably in the city. But Jia Zhetui refused. The prince came up with a plan to burn the mountains, hoping that Jia Zhetui would bring his mom out of the house. But the result did not turn out as expected. Both mother and son were killed in the fight. Therefore, in remembrance of Jia Zhetui, the prince therefore ordered this day of every year. No fire is allowed and eat only fresh and cool food until it becomes the source of the festival. So it's held in China from 5 to 20 April. During the spring season, the winter will gradually warm up and the cold will decrease. It is the origins of the name of the ancestor worship tradition that has been passed down to the present day. The ancestor worship festival in Thailand is mainly called on April 5 of every year. 3 days before and 3 days after that account for a total of 7 days, approximately 2 to 8 April. For Thai Chinese people in some points, the event may be held a day earlier than other. For example, in Tang, the ceremony is held every April 4th. The importance of this festival is it is one of the most important traditions of Chinese and Thai people of Chinese descent because there will be our ancestor worship at Feng Shui to show respect and gratitude toward the ancestor.